I would like to introduce to you a spiritual practice that all of us are capable of doing. And I would like to introduce it with a mechanical device. When you do this, remember to turn clockwise for best results. As you'll see after worship when you try it yourself, it walks on water. Come up anytime here and have a look. If you'd like to try it while I'm preaching, I'd be happy to see you up there giving it a try. I love this poem by that lowest case of all poets, E.E. Cummings. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May went down to the beach to play one day, and Maggie discovered a shell that sang so sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles. And Millie befriended a stranded star, whose rays 5 languid fingers were. And Molly was chased by a horrible thing, which raced sidewise while blowing bubbles. And May came home with a smooth round stone, as small as a world and as large as a loan. For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourselves that we find in the sea. The sea is a mystery. It is a sort of desert, except for the dark pinpricks of distant ships or gyring birds. It is a great emptiness that clears away our pretenses. It washes away our preconceptions. Its waves grind to sand our edifices of pride. It hides power and energy and mystery beneath its surface. In this passage from the Gospel of John, which Mike read for us this morning, in this most mystical of the Gospels, Jesus stands on the beach after his death and resurrection. Dark mysteries writhe beneath the surface of the waters. And in another story about Jesus and the waters, this is the one about post-resurrection. In this other story, different than the one we read, Jesus is standing by the beach and he directs his disciples about where to throw their nets. Yes? And they throw in their nets as he directs, and they pull out a huge catch of fish. And then in this story that Mike read, Jesus is in a storm with the disciples, and he walks on the water. And his disciples are terrified, blown away, shocked about his ability to do this. And then Peter tries to walk on the water, and he does exactly what Wile E. Coyote does. Every time when the roadrunner runs off a cliff, being a bird, can keep going, Wile E. Coyote runs across and over the cliff and keeps running in the air until he realizes that he's a coyote and he's not going to be able, and then he drops to the bottom of the canyon. That was Peter. Peter as Wile E. Coyote. Yeah. Great story. Classic. How many of you had experiences like that where you're doing just fine at something, then you kind of go, wait a minute, I can't do this, and then suddenly you can't. I'm that way with bowling. I go to a bowling, I bowl about, once every 5 years, and then I'll bowl and I'll like strike every time, and then suddenly I'm just terrible again, you know. What is it? Something's going on there within us. So what is this about, Jesus and the water? I mean, have you ever had a dream about water? Let me see a show of hands about where water was a really important feature of your dream. That's like half of us, yeah. Me, for sure. Big, important dreams that were water, where I was underwater and then above water. Incredible dreams. So my invitation to you right now is to interpret this story that Mike read for us this morning, to interpret it the way you would interpret your dreams, right? Think of it as a dream. If this was your dream, this story of Jesus walking on water, if you dreamed that, what would it mean for you? Yeah? It's a very dreamlike story because, again, of the importance of water and dreams. At one of the churches I served for about a year and a half, 2 years, we had a dream group. And it was wonderful. Every week we'd get together and people would share their dreams. And then we would all ask the question, like, if that person's dream was my dream, what would it mean to me? Oh man, rich discussion every time. Whoever dreamed the dream would always learn something from other people's interpretation, not of what they thought it meant to that person, but what it meant to them, right? Oh, it was rich. And man, people spilled stuff. Oh, they revealed more about themselves than they ever intended to reveal by sharing their dreams. Afterwards, they're like, ooh, which is why there's a rule for dream groups, and that is, what happens in the dream group stays in the dream group. Oh man, I ran one at USC when I was there. I think I had like 8 students in the dream group, and 7 of them were women. And for some strange reason, they were the most salacious dreams I have ever heard in a dream group. I'm like, whoa, maybe I need to leave? Anyway, oh, it was incredible, just incredible. And the young man who was in the group, his eyes as big as trash can lids the whole time. Again, dreams, they reveal, they're a window into that realm beneath the surface, right? Where all sorts of stuff is churning around and moving, and are we able to see what's down there? Do we know where the fish are swimming? You know? Do we know what's going on in our unconscious dimension? Are we paying attention to our inner realm of experience and knowledge too? Because we can learn so much about ourselves and get guidance from our dreams. So one way of thinking about Jesus in this story is that Jesus is a person who has mastered his unconscious dimension. He has mastery over it. He knows what's down there, and he knows how to deal with it because he knows what's going on down below that surface, right? And so he's able to walk on it because he's the master of it. And he invites us to be the masters of our sea of the unconscious that's within all of us. He invites us to that kind of mastery as well. So when you crank the handle, again, clockwise works best, meditate for a moment on what's going on under the surface of your consciousness. And how might you get in touch with that? And how might you gain mastery over it? Walking on the water. A meditation discipline for us all. I have a theory about another reason why Jesus walked on water, and that is that he didn't know how to swim. Okay. And it turns out very few people knew how to swim until very recently. Swimming is like not a thing that people did in the ancient world. There were always people that could swim, but a minority that knew how to swim. Did you know that Benjamin Franklin was a swimming teacher? He made money as a young guy teaching people to swim in the river there in Philadelphia, right? Amazing. Because very few people knew how. So maybe that's why he walked on water, right? Joking. But the fact is that, one of the reasons that his disciples were so blown away is that they probably didn't know how to swim either, right? And that just added to the terror and the fear that people had of water, open water. Water features so much, so strongly in our inner world, and I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that that's where we all started out, right? In a bag of water inside of our mothers, swimming around, and just blissing out in the glory of being in the water and under the water. There we were in the unconscious dimension for 9 months, right? And so in our dreams, we go back to that. We return. And Jesus talks about being born again, right? Being born again. And the baptism, the water of baptism, is a symbol of that primordial water from which we came. And of course, the Jewish people, in their cosmology, they believed that water surrounded the universe, right? The firmament was surrounded by water. And the water that leaked through the holes in the firmament, that was rain, right? And the water that bubbled up from below the firmament, the universe, the known world, springs of water coming out of the ground. So they believed that the universe was a womb, right? A watery womb in which we all live. The Taoist tradition has a lot to say about water too. Chinese Taoism. The Tao, the way, is one that seems effortless, a way that's nonviolent, a way that's like flowing water that goes around things that are in its way and very gently and slowly wears away the things that get in its way, right? So here are some words from Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. Tao is a hollow vessel, and its use is inexhaustible, fathomless, like the fountainhead of all things, its sharp edges rounded off, its tangles untied, its light tempered, its turmoil submerged, yet dark like deep water, it seems to remain. Yeah. The Tao, the way, runs like an underground stream, and if we go with it and follow its flow, we reach the depths, and we water the roots of all that springs above the ground in the conscious realm. Hafiz of Shiraz, 14th century Muslim Sufi poet, he describes the heart as a well of water. There are different wells within your heart. Some fill with each good rain. Others are far too deep for that. In one well, you have just a few precious cups of water. That love is literally something of yourself. It can grow as slow as a diamond if it is lost. There are different wells within us. Some fill with each good rain. Others are far, far too deep for that. In 1989, up in Northern California, after the big earthquake there, the Loma Prieta earthquake, a few months after, me and a buddy, we went on a hike up to the epicenter. That was kind of cool. It's in Nicene Mark State Park in Santa Cruz County. And so we hiked up, and at the epicenter, it's just redwood forest, but right at the epicenter there's a little canyon with redwood trees up and down. And the redwood trees at the bottom of the canyon were like matchsticks, tipped over, fallen over. The redwood trees on the slope of the canyon, higher up, still standing. Why? Because redwoods have shallow roots when they're growing next to the water because they don't need to go deep. But when they're higher up, they got to go deep, right, in order to get to the water. And that makes them stronger, and they don't tip over when the earthquake hits. They sink their roots down to the water. And that is the challenge before us, yes, to sink our roots down, to go deep, to find out what's down there that can nourish us and help us thrive and grow and deal with our stuff. If we don't know what our stuff is, then we can't master it. If we don't know what's going on in our unconscious dimensions below the surface, then they can control us instead of us controlling them. So let us join with Jesus and invite each other and ourselves to walk on the water and know what's under the surface of our feet as we do so. Amen.